Most people, it turns out, according to public opinion polling, think that they love their jobs, but other people don't. We have a huge amount of societal stimulus that, from everything from The Office to Dilbert, to talk about the drudgery of work. And we have a cottage industry that talks about dead-end jobs and lousy jobs. How many times have we heard about elites talking about other people's lousy dead-end jobs, and how we heard the Vice President of the United States on The View, which I don't watch, and said this particular program, government program, is great because that way people can quit their dead-end jobs. I've done the research on this, and it turns out that loving your job, if it's the thing that you're trying to predict, is not predicted by having a college degree, and is not predicted by having above or below average income. You're just as likely to love your job if you're making $30,000 a year as if you're making $300,000 a year. You wish you were making more money, because everybody does. But it's an interesting thing. I think it's a problem that we have. It's a classist problem to assume that jobs that pay less, jobs that are less sexy, are less good and people like them less. And this leads to one other thing that I want to ask you about, David. I've been thinking about writing about the topic of fear, because I think there's so much fear motivation in people's lives that you were mentioning. And living in Washington, D.C., everybody's terrified, just terrified of professional humiliation. And there are days when I am too. I'm afraid. I'm really motivated by fear. And so I was looking at excellent survey data about the personal fears people have about their future, just to see how many people are afraid of failing professionally. Number one professional future fear is running out of money. Number two is illness. Number three is loneliness. Number four is becoming unemployed, which is related to number one. And where does professional failure fall? It's not on the list. Those of you who felt fear from professional failure, you're not like the rest of the population. It's odd. So I started thinking about it. I started asking people about it. And there's a guy, my pipes were backing up, so a guy was coming to fix it. And I asked him, are you afraid of failing in your job? He said, what? You mean like getting laid off and not being able to pay my bills? So I said, that's a different category. Are you afraid of failing? And he literally couldn't understand what I was saying. It didn't make sense to him. I mean, like using the wrong bore of PVC pipe or something, being humiliated, it didn't make sense. And so that's an important thing, I think, that those who are worried about professional failure and humiliation are a particular class of people. And that explains a phenomenon that I saw in the data, which is that people tend to be really strongly in the same categories of liking their jobs, but one predictor is when your income gets above super rich, you start liking your job less. Do you think that's actually motivated by fear?